Good afternoon, Mayor. Good afternoon, City Council. My name's Giano Amado. I'm with Veterans in Politics.
Thank you.
Now, the reason I'm here is in mid-2019, I filed for a document for reversal and remand in the appeals court, and it was against Mathew Harter. I also filed in, I believe, mid-2019 for disqualification with the Supreme Court, got kicked down to the Court of Appeals. I ended up winning both. The disqualification was November 25th, 2020. Judge Harter was actually disqualified from my case and for biasness. There was another situation, and I know this isn't in the city, but I'm just using it as a reference with Mark Stevens back in 2016, where he actually locked a domestic violence victim up for 2 weeks. I'm asking that the Citizens Review Board, I would personally like to see what they're allowed to do, what they're not allowed to do, and that's it.
Thank you, and you may want to contact the county commission that has the purview over that part of the court system.
Okay, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Folks, we're back. This is Steve Sanson, Stephen Jones for Veterans of Politics. We have Giano Amado. He's going to discuss the important need of a public citizens review board to oust out corrupt elected officials. Steve, you have anything?
So over the last week or so, after Hamas launched over 1,000 rockets into a civilian population, focus on that.
That's war right there.
Terrorist group launching rockets, civilians. I have the stance that I still believe, like as in the 90s, a lot of people felt this way, two-state solution, and work with the Palestinians for humanitarian efforts. Mm-hmm. Now, people are openly supporting Hamas. And it just blows me away. I'm like, you can be anti-Hamas, a terrorist organization, and be pro-Palestinian. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean you hate Palestinians. It means that you don't support firing rockets in the civilian population. People can look at videos in Tel Aviv. People are out on the beach with their family, with their kids. All of a sudden, sirens start going off. They have to run to bunkers. Mm-hmm. Seems crazy to me. In 2021, that's okay. Sorry, I'm a little whatever about it, because I've been threatened by having that view. I've had to block people on Facebook. I've had to report people on Facebook. Really? Oh, yeah. Just a two-state solution, anti-terrorist, and for some reason that makes you a pro-Zionist, whatever. And it's like, just frustrating, man.
Well, some people are ignorant. What did Burke Hall call them? Ignorant?
Ignorant.
Yeah.
Yeah, but to lighten up just a little bit on that one is, yeah, it's like, so that's just my point, and I want everyone to understand that. There was a Washington Post article that the writer made the point that the Iron Dome defense system was so successful that it was oppressive to Palestinians. I was like, how do you make that argument that a country, recognized state by the UN, by the way, in 1947, can defend civilians on a beach in Tel Aviv by having a missile defense system is somehow suppressing people? I'm just like, it doesn't make sense. Now, if you want to argue that, you know, some of the stuff in the Gaza Strip or whatever, the West Bank, and some of the settlement issues that's happened over the years, that's fine. But it's just people are focusing on the wrong thing. And right now, just people are, and we have elected officials right now, you know, I'm not going to say her name, but the representative from Minnesota that is advocating for Hamas. And it's like, how does that happen? That's how crazy things have gotten.
I think her thinking through the years have been warped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
It's like I'm watching Gotham.
Oh, right.
And Don Falcone, you know, says that you have to have respect how things are done instead of going half-cock and doing some crazy stuff. You know, you give your word, that's what it's supposed to be. Right. You can't give your word and then go behind your word and stab somebody in the back.
Right.
You know, you have to have your dignity, you have to have your respect. And I think that's been over the years, that's being lost through generation after generation.
Yeah.
For example, in this town, nobody respects your time. You know, they don't respect what you do for them. They don't appreciate it. They feel in more of entitlement that you're supposed to. So I think over the years, from the generation, I don't know, from XY generation, the millenniums to
Z,
and
Z.
I think all that is being lost.
Right.
How the mindset was from back in the other generation. You say something, you do something.
Right.
You don't say something just to say it and not do it. You know.
Yeah, or it can't just be a hashtag free Palestine.
Yeah.
It's like that conflict's been going on for over 5,000 years. It's deeply rooted in religion and all sorts of different factors that younger people now will just be like, oh, Israel is a state. These guys just want their land back or whatever, and it's that simple. It's like, it's not that simple, and it's never been that simple. It'll never be that simple. So you can't just, hashtag free Palestine and then threaten people on Facebook because they have a different view that might know a little bit more about it. Now, my perspective is jaded. My perspective isn't as pro-Muslim as a lot of people's might be. I'm not anti-Muslim, but I'm definitely not pro-Muslim over anyone else. You know, this whole thing about tolerance, well, we know that's a lie. It's not about tolerance. And then the whole coexist thing, remember those bumper stickers that had like all the different religious symbols and it spelled out coexist?
Yeah.
That's my mindset. It's like, I could be Christian, and I am, and I can know someone who's a Muslim, and I'm not gonna just be like, oh, you're a Muslim. I'm not going to debate necessarily, but maybe we can have a conversation and be like, okay, so after the Prophet Muhammad died in 638 and the Muslims started the Muslim conquest, that's never talked about. It's like, okay, so what was it? How was that spread? One of the things I want to know from someone, actually, this is something I should probably do on my own time. Sorry for taking up your time, man. But so Pakistan and India, what people don't understand is Pakistan, it was all India at one time. During the Muslim conquest, and then you start getting in the different empires and stuff like that, but that land was actually Indian. Right. So now you got those two that hate each other because of a similar situation with Israel and Palestinians, sorry. And it's like, so there's so many things that you can't just throw up a hashtag online and think that you're doing a good thing because you see an oppressed people, what you perceived as being oppressed. In some ways they are, but yet you can't just deny the fact that a state has a right to exist. And that's the pro-Muslim view right now, is just annihilating Israel. I forgot his position, I think Prime Minister of Turkey just a few days ago said we need to just annihilate Israel. They're not even trying to be coy about it or anything. They're just openly advocating these things. So it's like, just, I don't know. I just want people to look more into it. Don't just throw up a hashtag and think you're cool. I know it's the Gen Z thing they do. Yeah. And actually, I think it started with Michelle Obama holding up that hashtag free our girls.
I remember back in the day, when I was growing up in the Bronx, if you had a problem with somebody, you just go knock on their door and ask them to come outside so you could discuss it. And now you got all these people talking all this crap on Facebook and TikTok and Twitter. And
honestly, I've been a keyboard warrior from time to time.
That have no gonads to actually face you in person.
Right.
But yet they want to act all tough on these keyboard, social media crap. Right. That's what pisses me off.
Yeah, I got you.
You know.
Yeah, I have to call myself out. I've had my keyboard warrior moments. There was a meme years ago about like there was a keyboard and someone was wearing MMA gloves over the keyboard. And they're like, I don't always engage in online fights, but when I am, I'm ready for a championship bout or something like that. And like that was.
But you see the way the way these new generations mindset is starting to, in my opinion, warped.
Well, it's warped. It's lack of conflict because you don't face people face to face anymore. You know, I mean, and I've called myself out on the past. It's like if I've sent some messages to people that after I read it, I was like, if I was in front of this person, I might get punched in the face for saying that. Mm-hmm. So I had to check myself and be like, okay, you know, calm it down. I've quit Facebook multiple times for it because coming to the realization that it's like some of these things that I was posting, I was like, I wouldn't say this if I was talking to the person. I wouldn't be this much like for conflict or whatever if I was just sitting with them. We'd be talking about sports or gambling or something like that, you know.
But anyways, it's the kind of people, right, that'll talk, that got the power, right, on the bench, and you know, and they'll say, you know what, if they're mad at you, they're gonna prove they're mad at you, and they're gonna say, hey, you know what, this is what you do with your kid. You know what, we're gonna set up a termination for your kid. We're gonna set up a termination to take away your rights, and we're gonna show you because we have the power, we have the qualified immunity to take away your power. You know, and I wouldn't be able to beat you inside of a ring, so I'm going to show you, right? Even though there's nothing to terminate your rights for, I'm going to waste the public's funds, and I'm going to teach you a lesson, right? Those are the son of a bitches that we got to get the hell off of that bench.
Well, and then, just real quick touch on that is like, so not just necessarily in the ring or whatever, it doesn't always have to be a physical conflict, you know what I mean? You can logically like argue stuff or whatever. Well, actually logic just
but if you're going to talk, right? Well, yeah, but listen, if you're going to talk on social media, or it's like if you're going to pull next to somebody, you're going to flip somebody off, you should be ready to fight, right? Like with me, I'm telling you, listen, my point being is like if we were in a bar, right, and somebody picked a fight with me, not only do we got to fight that day, if I see you the next day, we got to fight again. And then 10 years later and 20 years later, we got to fight again, right? So I'm kind of the wrong person to pick a fight with because I keep going and going and going and going, especially when you mess with my kids, right? When you do illegal things because of qualified immunity, I will never stop, right? Like especially if you ruin my child, okay, because of this qualified immunity. Who the hell came up with this qualified immunity, right? What's the difference? Everybody knows what a poacher is, right? If we go right now to up in Ely, okay, and we poach a deer, whatever, elk, whatever they have, right? We're gonna get locked up if we get caught. What's the difference, okay? If you give citizens a legal license to poach, okay? We're not talking about deer. We're not talking about elk. If you give citizens with qualified immunity, okay, a license to poach human beings because they're not your color, or they speak different, or they look different, how is that right? What do you guys think about qualified immunity? I think we need to get down to the bottom of who the hell thinks that that's right. How in the hell is qualified immunity right when you could prove biasness, right? Like I said the other day, I got an order of reversal and remand on Judge Mathew Harter a few days ago. Not a few days ago, but we spoke about it a few days ago.
At the city council.
At the city council. On June 29, 2020, I got an order of reversal and remand, meaning they reversed his decision of what he did to me because it was wrong, okay? And then I also got a disqualification in November of 2020 for biased reasons. How the hell is anybody allowed on that bench that's biased, okay? Remember this, okay? This is what I want everybody to understand. This I'm not even going to call him names. We'll try to keep it as professional as possible. But I do want to, I would like to call him a lot of stuff. But
don't call him to dinner.
Yeah. He wouldn't want to call me to dinner. He wouldn't want to see me at dinner. But anyways, this kind of person does not belong on that bench. He ruined my daughter, okay, where I'm not kidding you guys, okay? I literally might have to just terminate my rights, okay, because he allowed, knowing what was happening, knowing that my daughter's mother came back after 4 years of abandonment, did the exact same routine that she did before she took her, okay?
And let me stop you right there. I don't know why we have these laws on the books, because they say if you have no contact with your child for 6 months,
yeah,
it's automatically an abandonment.
Yeah.
But yet they bring these parents back into these children's lives after years of abandonment. Mm-hmm. Why do we even have laws on the books? Why do we even send legislators to Carson City and pay for all their time and all these senators, state senators, and the governor, and bills, and all this legislation and paper? And if we don't follow the laws, we send these people to Carson City to go and write.
Well, remember, Steve, we got to follow the law, right? They got qualified immunity, meaning there is no law for them, right?
Well, they got discretion.
For police officers, for judges, for anybody that, has to stand up and stick up for, these corrupt officials, right? There is no law. Qualified immunity, that means they get away with anything. They want to go and they want to poach you, and then they want to hide the cameras, right? They want to hide the footage. What happens? What do we say? All we could do is speak loud, and we could come on TV, and we can, cause a scene. That's it. And they just sit back and laugh, right? And then what do? They still get that gun, and they still come out. You say the wrong thing. Hey, let me get your license registration. You seen that video a couple months back, right, where I sent you? The cop asked me for my insurance and registration. I reach over to get it. He pulls out a gun, and he was going to kill me, right? I was literally not doing anything wrong. On private property, you know what I mean? But that's a whole different ballgame. We'll get into that later. I'm just saying this qualified immunity is bullshit,
it's funny that you said that. I had an incident several years ago when I was doing bodyguard work, and I kicked out an individual out of this establishment around one of my clients, and I guess he was pissed off about it. So he came back, and he sucker punched me, and I wailed on him, had his back turned, and I was wailing on him. And then he went under his shirt, and he pulled out a weapon, and then I pulled my weapon on him. I chased him from Spring and Arville all the way down to Valley View, and he had his gun out and he was running. I had my gun out and I was on the phone with Metro. And I was talking to Metro Dispatch, and here comes an officer down Spring Mountain. By this time, I lost sight of the suspect. So officer U-turns, I put my weapon on the ground. I told dispatch, there's an officer here. She goes, okay, hang up. I hung up. And I had my cell phone out, and I had my hands like this, showing that I have my phone, and there's nothing in this hand. So he comes over, and he was smiling, and he picked up the weapon off the ground, and he cleared it out, and he goes, do you have another weapon on you? I said, yes, I do. I have it right on my right hip. And he goes, hand it over to me. And I'm thinking, this is dumb, because if I hand it over to him, he could pop me, right?
Yeah.
And all everybody's gonna see is me having a gun on an officer. They don't even know what's going on. They don't even know the conversation that he said to hand the weapon over to him.
Yeah.
They don't even know, because this is all they're seeing, perception, right? So I said to him, I said, no, officer, I'm not handing any weapons over to you. If you want my weapon, you come get it. And I turned around and I showed my side so he could come and get the weapon himself. Then he goes, that's all the weapons you have? And I said, yeah, but you know what? You should search me. So I gave my back to him so he could search me, right? Because I want him to be comfortable that he doesn't, that he knows I don't have a weapon. But the fact remains, telling me to hand a weapon over, broad daylight, people going 35 miles an hour, right? Yeah. All they see is this guy have a weapon on an officer. They don't know the inside story that the officer asked for the weapon, and all the person was doing was complying with the officer's orders, right? Yeah. They don't know that part.
Oh yeah, that never will, right? If you'd have got killed that day, they never would have.
Be my fault.
Yeah, he went like this and he pointed his weapon.
Weapon on an officer, right? That's all they will see.
Yeah. So
I get you.
Now, just imagine how dangerous this is, okay? This is America today. How dangerous is that, okay? Everybody wants to live a certain way. Everybody wants to live. Everybody got children, you know, or you know, you got family. Everybody has somebody, right? How can people know that you are poaching human beings and then you hide the camera, okay? And then you hide the footage. How would anybody say that that's okay? And then what you do is you twist it and you make sure that everybody knows, oh, you had to hide it because it's going to cause violence. The violence, what about the violence? You just murdered somebody and their poor family has to deal with it,
so,
you know?
So you were at the city council meeting during public comment, and you mentioned about a public citizens review board to oust out elected officials. What do you mean by all that?
So, okay, what I'm saying is the citizens review board right now, from what I hear, is a circus, okay? Should we go, right? Should we all put on clown hair, noses, paint our faces, clown costumes and run around there? Let's make it a circus if it's a circus, right?
Well, you know why it's a circus, right? Because there is no transparency.
Exactly.
If you file a complaint, you're talking about the Citizen Review Board for Metro, right? If you file a complaint against an officer and you are the victim, you're the one that filed it, do you know that you have no public access? You cannot even sit in and hear what's going on. You nothing. So there's no transparency.
Families, right?
I mean, it's just bullshit. Yeah. And then you got the executive director gets $100,000 plus, right? And she gets paid by the county or by Metro, by whoever, right? And then you have the Citizens Review Board panel that are all handpicked by Metro. So if you are a pro-police, right? They could do no wrong. You're on that panel. You're on that board. Yeah. That's how they do. How is that a citizens review board? Why don't they just call it a supporting the police review board and be done? And tell everybody that if you have a complaint, don't bother filing it because you are not going to win.
Let's twist it, right? Let's twist the facts. Let's make a play on words. Let's talk about your situation. You actually sued Metropolitan Police Department a couple months back, and you won that case, right?
Well, they settled.
They
out
settled.
Of court.
Okay, well, I mean, same thing, you know what I mean? The bottom line is, I mean, no matter how we say, you still won, you know what I mean? But let's talk about that. What happened when you went and you filed with the Citizens Review Board? Let's talk about that.
Well, the first time I filed, they denied my request because we exposed one of their members who had several DUIs. And if you have DUIs, you can't be on the Citizens Review Board. So we exposed them. So then the director goes, after she's been there 20 years, by the way, director sends a letter saying, okay, since you exposed one of our members, I'm going to tell all the panel members what you did. So now she went and told them all, so now they all have a hands-off approach on me because they don't want to, what she says, face any type of retaliation if they don't go and vote my way. So that's what the letter says. This is all in black and white.
Oh, man.
And then when there was a new director after the passing of the other one, God rest her soul, the new director decided to go ahead and review my case and then said that, okay, the panel's going to hear the case, but there is no public, you cannot, the public are not welcome to come and watch the the discussion, and I'm like, wait a minute.
Who the hell falls for that?
I'm the one that filed a claim. So once they told me that the public is not welcome, I knew that it was a, what you call it? Circus.
Yeah.
I knew that I was doomed from the word go. So I was just like, okay, I already know what's going to happen.
You don't waste your time, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it came up exactly the way I thought.
So talking about, I got a great idea, right? Think about this, okay? The legislators, they're in there for 2 years, right? Mm-hmm. Let's find out who's backing these laws. Let's find out who is writing these laws, right? Mm-hmm. Let's find out who is for corruptness and who is against corruptness, and let's try to get them the hell out of there, right? And I think we have the power to do that. I think we have the power to expose. I think we have the power to get them the hell out of the legislator. And, you know, we need to make sure there's transparency. You can't just go and you know, oh, listen, we got to, you can't go take 12 cops and, you know, or 12 family members of police officers, whatever it is, and say, oh, this is the Citizens Review Board. What a circus. Who the hell is going to fall for that, okay? But that, you got to remember, that's what America's came to now, right? You say something and you twist it and you twist the facts, and what happens? Everybody sits there and they're like, okay, all right, now I know, you know, they know how to lie. They were taught to lie. They were taught to twist facts, you know what I mean? But I say we don't let that happen. But talking about earlier when you said, a second ago, when you said that when they wrote you that letter, you already knew you were going to lose, right? So what I did to Harter, right? I went in there, and once I started this case, I mean, the case got started back in 2012. But once my kid's mother came back after that 4.5 years, and he let her talk ex parte the day before that, okay? I walk in there, and he set me up, okay? My daughter got kidnapped. He takes this drug addict, okay, after 4.5 years, and gives her my child and says, you know what, sir? You have to go pay $1,500 for a report because of what she said the day before, ex parte, which she wasn't allowed to do, which he allowed her to do. And you have to pay $1,500 for a report, and, you know, and then we'll come back, okay? I said, Your Honor, I got proof right now. All of this is fake. He looks at my table. He was like, I don't know what you're doing with all those papers up there. He says, you know, I could guarantee we're not going to do anything right now. I could guarantee I'm not going to look at that. Something to that effect. And you know what I did? I grabbed my bag because I felt exactly like you did when you looked at that letter, and I threw everything in there and I took his power away just like that. I said, you know what? I want to go ahead and terminate my rights. Booyah. Let's take their power away, right? So anyways, I said, I want to go ahead and terminate my rights. This was actually 2 weeks later, okay? So September 19, 2019. But anyways, I don't sit there and play games. I don't waste life. I don't waste breath, okay? If somebody is so in control and has so much power, okay, and they're a bitch, then what do? Okay? If you're up there and he is controlling my whole family's life, my child's life, okay? And he took my child away, right? Which I proven, okay, with the disqualification and the reverse and remand that it was wrong. How do we allow that kind of person on that bench, okay? How does United States, how does Clark County voters allow somebody like that on the bench? You know, how do we get them off that bench?
That's because they normalize the corruption. Or they're corrupt themselves and they're scared if they turn them in, then people are going to come after them.
So it's the play and pay. You play basically to pay, right? I
mean, you talking about Judge Harter, who knowingly, with evidence, have bankruptcy fraud, mortgage fraud,
yeah,
and perjured himself, and everybody knows about it, and he's still allowed to sit on the bench to judge you, to judge us, to judge. I mean, it's total sickening.
If he ruined my daughter, okay, literally ruined. Now what I didn't say is, after he gave my daughter up, okay, to a drug addict that already abandoned my daughter before that 4.5 years, okay, she abandoned her for I think 3.5 years, okay. As soon as she got my daughter back, she abandoned her again for a whole year. I literally got Harter, okay, I could get the video, you know. I got Harter where he says, I said, Your Honor, I said, listen, this is when the pandemic first started. I said, listen, my daughter was abandoned once again, sir. I am pleading with you. I need you to sign a pickup order. She's with a babysitter right now. It's a life and death situation. Oh, I don't care if it is a life and death. Or no, he says, I don't care if she is with the babysitter. Not happening, not happening. How the hell do we have somebody with that much power to ruin a child? How many children has Judge Harter ruined? That's my problem, right? My child's already ruined. There's no fixing it, okay? You guys would have to understand the whole entire story, you know, and to understand why there is no fixing it. But we cannot let him on that, we cannot keep him on that bench. We have to do everything lawfully to get him off that damn bench, okay? He is ruining, I could guarantee you, hundreds and hundreds, if not over 1,000 families, maybe thousands, who knows? He is somebody up there. What we need to do is send him back to Logandale, Mawapa, wherever he's from, you know, and maybe he should become a farmer and you know, tell cows and pigs, you know what I mean, herd cows and sheeps and shit, you know what I mean? That's what we need to do with Harter. You know, he should not be allowed to be on that bench, to be that vindictive on the bench, right? We got proof. Remember.
So how are you planning to form this public citizens, and I use the word public citizens review board because the citizens review board for Metro is actually private, which I don't even know why they exist. But how do you form this public citizens review board that has some type of clout that would actually if they can't automatically oust out an elected official, a corrupt elected official, at least have the wheels turning to do so? How do you plan to do that?
So I plan on, I think we need to get a hold of the ACLU, which I've already, you know, started that process. I think we need to bring in some civil rights, right? Some civil rights attorneys. You know, I think we need it. Let's create a think tank, right? Let's do it right. Let's do it the right way. Let's make sure, right, that we have a real public review board, right? Let's not pretend. Let's not hide behind walls. Oh, hey, you know what? We just had a hearing. You don't get to know about it, okay? You don't get to see what happens, right? That's almost like when you go do what is it called? A polygraph at the police department, right? You take the polygraph, your attorney's not allowed to be there, right? Then when you take the polygraph, they say, oh man, you failed miserably, right? But then you never get to see it and they don't send it to the courts. Who falls for that? I don't fall for that. I would never fall for that. And we'll talk about another story later on when we got more time about that, because I got a good story about that. But anyways, you know, anyways, I think that we need to form, let's have a think tank. Let's bring in, you know, some high-powered officials. And, you know, we need to definitely be in contact with the ACLU and let's get their thoughts on it. What can we do? Let's create something real, right? Let's create something to where nobody hides nothing. We post everything, right? Everybody does something corrupt, right? If you get pulled over, okay, and all of a sudden the cop asks for everybody, because if you're, you know, black or brown or something, and you get and you're not driving, but the cop wants to ask everybody for their license, let's post it, right? Let's make sure everybody knows what's going on here. Let's not hide anything. What do you think? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, a cop only supposed to ask for the driver's license of the driver.
Yeah,
not everybody else in the car.
Yeah, so that definitely.
Unless they have probable cause and they're looking for murder suspects and the people in the vehicle fit that profile.
Oh, you always fit the profile. You always fit the profile.
But it has to be legitimate. Then that's different. But if you have no probable cause, the cops shouldn't be asking for passengers to show their ID.
I don't think I've ever been asked for everybody in the vehicle, but I would, especially as a teenager when I first started driving, dude, I was getting pulled over all the time because I had a friend that I worked with and I dropped him off and it was off of Owens and I forget the cross street. It's right there. There's a market right there on the corner. I forget the name of it. But so I drop him off. cop would see me, and it was 11, 12 o'clock at night or whatever, see me leaving the area, pulled over, guaranteed. As soon as I saw a cop, boom, guaranteed to be pulled over. What did he think? I'm buying drugs.
Yeah.
So it's like, it happens to a lot of people. Or like when my brother had a brand new Blazer, back when that was like, a thing. Now it's like Blazers aren't crap, but I'd just be driving down Sahara, pulled over. And it was like, just because I was a young ass white kid in a nice car, they were like, always buying drugs.
They're not supposed to be profiled.
Well, I know, I'm just saying, like, it's not always just, I don't know. It does happen to a lot of people. And situations are different, but so the reason why I brought up myself is because I put myself in my instances, I put my perspective on the cop. If I saw my nerdy looking white ass down on Owens and MLK off at MLK at 1 in the morning, I'd be talking to me.
Yeah, but
I'd see that and I'd be like, yeah, come here.
But that's illegal.
Yeah, because you're white driving a nice vehicle in a bad neighborhood early in the morning, that's not a crime.
It's not, but at the same time, like, come on.
It's not a crime. He has no probable cause to pull you over. Now, unless he saw you actually was selling or dealing drugs, then that's probable cause.
Drugs.
Yeah, but you driving in that neighborhood, that's not probable cause to pull you over.
Okay, so they'll find something to make it probable cause.
Well, then that's illegal. That's called corrupt.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Okay, so my job in surveillance. Casino surveillance.
Hold on a second. Hold on a second. It's just like when I got pulled over for speeding, and the cop had me come out the car because I told him I had weapons in the car, and he cuffed me, and I denied his request to take weapons or go into my car and search it. He was mad at me because I was upholding my constitutional right.
Right.
And I don't have to give him permission to go to my car. I don't have anything to hide. Right. But do I want anybody in my vehicle? No. I don't even want my mama looking around my vehicle. It's not because I have something to hide, because that's my personal, private space.
Right. Yeah, but I'm not getting into search and seizure stuff. I'm not even getting into that point. What I'm saying is, like, okay, so when I worked...
Look at this. Look at that right there.
Casino surveillance.
Lying, what does that say?
Lying is a normal part of policing, ex-cop on police reports. All right, so when I was doing surveillance, because I'm currently not, whenever someone would walk into the building or you would just scan a casino floor, and we all do this, I'm just talking about perspective through the camera, we're all profiling people.
Yeah.
You're profiling for potential threats, to just whatever, we're doing it, and especially in surveillance. So on the surveillance perspective, what we're doing is we're not going like, oh, let's find where all the black people are at. Let's find where all the white people are at. What we're doing is who's a gambler, who's not. You're looking for people in that situation. Gamblers are very predictive people. I mean, I've watched videos of main cage being robbed. 4 guys, masked, shotguns, yelling. Old lady's just sitting there at the slot machine, just right there. She looks, sees the guys with the guns, and just keeps gambling. So it's like, so in that
She's
case,
not even phased.
No, not at all. And oh man,
they gonna mess up my rhythm.
it's about to hit. It's about to hit.
Luck is in the air for me.
But then, like, so that's what I would do. But then, like, and this can be considered what I was doing in my job my job duties as profiling, because I'll tell you what. At Sunset Station, when I worked there was 2 areas where we had penny keno. And anytime you ever saw, for anybody, okay, there's a couple of things I could go with that. But like, so just looking in those areas, my senses weren't looking for gangbangers or anything like that. No, it was white people. When tweakers. Yeah, tweakers. 2, 3 in the morning, you see somebody on those penny slots, what are they doing? They're sitting there, doing all their things and stuff like that. And then looking outside, another thing, oh man, the stuff I've seen, man, is crazy. But then another thing I would look for is a grown white dude riding a BMX bike with a backpack.
So I understand where you're coming from.
But so yeah, it's not legal. It's just, so that's kind of like my thing though, is because I've been the person watching or like observing for stuff, and it's not like
but that's
trying to be
property though.
Yeah.
That's your private property, right? But on the public streets, and if you go to any police officer and you ask them, or the higher ups who won't even admit to it, and you say, do police officer profile, they'll tell you no.
Well, yeah, because
It's illegal, right?
yeah, but yeah, so that's where the lying stuff comes in. Yeah,
Okay.
cops lying. It's like, do you profile? No.
Okay.
Yeah,
so,
right.
Okay, so
I know it exists.
yeah, so I think the point on that, right, is that if we have to follow the laws, why don't they have to follow the laws, right? So you got to remember when there's people like AOC and all that. The bottom line, what it comes down to is everybody should have to follow the law. Why are the laws created if you don't have to follow them, right?
Exactly.
Let's not take one little, hashtag or one little post. Oh, this is how they think, right? It's not about that. Let's look at the entire picture, right? Let's get the facts out. And I think that if we create something that we could get facts out, right? Let's not let it be hid, because if it's hid, nobody ever gets to see it.
And they pick and choose who they want to apply the law to or for. For example, with the Michael McDonald incident, when he lied on his financial disclosure. Do you know how many people lie on their financial disclosure?
Yeah.
99.9% of litigants lie in their financial disclosure, but yet he's gone to prison for it, right? And then you have a judge that perjured himself in a federal bankruptcy filing, but he's still on the bench to judge others. It just doesn't make sense. I mean, where does that scale balance?
It's here. Remember, it's here. We're down here, they're up here.
The law is supposed to be for everybody to follow on the same level. It's not supposed to be like that.
Yeah, and with you saying that, one good point I want to make too, right? To clarify, everybody has the right to defend themselves, including police officers, right?
Absolutely.
If you pull out a weapon on a police officer, he has the right to kill your ass right there. But let's make sure, let's not only release the videos of, right, when it's clear as day and they release it in 5 minutes or the next day because it's clear as day and this guy pulled out a weapon. Let's not just release them videos. Let's release all videos within 24 hours, right? Let's not give people time to edit and, you know what I mean, and make, false edits, or let's not release snippets, right? Oh, look, you see his hand right here. Oh,
they don't show you what happened 5 minutes before.
Yeah.
Right, but that does happen on the other side too. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the old website Cop Block. A good friend of mine back in the day, we're not friends anymore, but not because of this, but because of other issues. But it's like used against cops in the same way. So he was one of those guys, anytime he saw a traffic stop, he'd pull out actual camcorder, this is how long ago it was, actual camcorder and just sit there and film the cop. And the cops would be like, what are you doing? Well, there was okay, I'm not arguing for or against it, but the thing that my buddy didn't understand was he was standing, he wasn't on the street, he wasn't on, well, you're not supposed to stand in the street, but he wasn't on the sidewalk. He was on someone else's lawn. Well, the homeowner never gave him permission to be there. So how the cop did it, like he's still upset about this, was possible trespassing. Well, they have to have a representative of the property there to actually trespass someone. Under misconception, people think that cops can do it themselves. No,
they
homeowner
can't. That's private property.
Yeah.
No, but they
behalf.
can because they do it.
Well, no, it doesn't hold. They can tell you to leave.
But you got to spend all your money to beat that case, though. You get it?
Yeah, but that's a minor one. And honestly, but
it's not minor if you don't got no money and you're fighting a case, a fake case at that.
And then you got a public defender that tell you to take a plea deal when you shouldn't be taking any deal.
Yeah, I don't know how many times trespassing is actually like prosecuted though without a second person there, duly rented. Because 207.200, I used to have to read it all the time.
When an officer does that to somebody, knowing doggone that they're not in their right or they're not in their preview to do that, They should take that person's attorney's fees and costs. They should pay for it.
Yeah.
You know, you shouldn't be left with a legal bill when you're just defending yourself after that police officer knowingly broke the law.
If you get found not guilty, you should get your money back.
Yeah, they should pay for it.
Okay.
And the officer should pay for it out of his pocket or her pocket, and not the taxpayers paying for it.
Right. Okay. So with my buddy being on that person's lawn, and the homeowner never came out. It was a simple traffic stop, and so the cop was just like, "You're on. You know, do you have a right to be there? Do you know the owner of the property and all that stuff?" He was pushing back because this guy was just sitting there with the camcorder watching him during a routine traffic stop. Honestly, the traffic stop was fine. It was like it was speeding or something. It was just boom, simple
what's the
thing.
problem? Well, what did they have to hide?
It wasn't so much they had the fact to hide. It's just remember, it was a camcorder, so like that kind of stuff at the time wasn't as accepted as now. Body cams weren't even thought of yet.
Body cams get turned off. Those ones? Are the body cams that don't get released? Those body cams, right?
Yeah. Well, actually, I want to talk about body cams a little bit too. But yeah, so he did that. But so here's the thing. All my buddy had to do was take a step forward onto the cement, onto the sidewalk. Cop would have had no reason, couldn't say nothing.
Yeah.
So he was filming them, which wasn't wrong. The cop felt it was at the time and found a way to try to get him out of there. But my buddy still was actually in the wrong himself too.
Maybe he felt safe to stay on that private property.
I mean, maybe, but you're talking about like a foot or two. So anyway, he clips it and he uploads it to this website, and it made it look, and the cop was nonchalant, and it wasn't like, "Oh, get out of my face and F you and F this."
Yeah. And you got a camera.
Well, that's what the edit made it look like. The edited video that I watched, because I watched the raw coverage and then I watched the edited stuff. Oh my goodness, man. It makes it look like my buddy was just, I'm having a good day. And a cop just approaches him out of nowhere for no reason and just starts berating him. Well, here's my friend did, to make cops look bad. Yeah. So that's what I mean is like, sometimes you got those pro cop editors or whatever, but you still got on the flip side too that make it look horrible.
Tell me this. Are you able to take a video, right? And I don't know if I'm sure, or your brother does some editing, but can you edit a gun, right? If you got, let's say you got 24 hours, let's say you got 2 years, is there any way you could edit a gun in that footage?
Yeah, absolutely. You can impose images and stuff like that.
Wow.
Oh, actually it gets worse than that. You know about the deep fake stuff where they could actually use like your image and like make up whatever it wants so it looks like I'm saying a certain thing. Yeah. They could go back through and like totally have me say other things.
Oh yeah.
You should Google it. Oh yeah. You should look it up.
Oh, that's scary. I don't
know.
Not
Deep State. I'm sorry.
Well, we ran out of time. Do you have anything else, Mr. Amado?
No, I just think I think we need to set up, a think tank, and let's dig into it, right? And the last thing is like I said, everybody has the right to defend themselves, right? We don't. If we dare, okay, like you said, you're in surveillance, okay? If we were playing blackjack and all of a sudden that blackjack, you're not allowed to touch you are not allowed to touch your cards, right? Only the blackjack, dealer can, play her cards, right? We're not allowed to touch them. How unfair would that be? What's the difference of what we're going through now, right? They're not allowed to release the cards to you, right? They got to edit them. They got to twist them. You know what I mean? But the bottom line is, all I'm saying, let's all follow the law, okay? Let's, get corrupt officials that are proven to be biased. Let's get them the hell off that bench. Let's do whatever lawfully we can do to get them the hell off of that bench, okay? And the other thing I wanted to mention is Judge Stevens back in 2016, okay? He locked up a domestic violence victim for 13 days, I want to say, okay? Now the woman lost her home, she lost her job, she was homeless on the streets, nothing to eat, for over a year or two, you know what I mean? Let's talk about people that do corrupt things like that. What do? Do we allow it to happen, or what do we do to stop it? Let's create our own citizens review board And let's really, let's put it out there. Let's not hide anything. Let's make a real citizens review board. What do you say?
I agree.
Yeah, I agree. I want to touch on surveillance. So surveillance, we would watch dealers and stuff. There are regulations in place they have to follow, and we write reports. They're called procedure error reports. Believe it or not, we would, in my experience, would write up the dealer for mistakes more often than anything else. So
Yeah, no, I believe you.
There are checks and balances.
Yeah, but if me and you are playing chess, you shouldn't be the only ones allowed to touch the chess pieces. You know what I mean?
Mr. Amado, could you look into the camera and tell whatever you want to say, and a point of contact if you want to drum up support?
Yeah, so what I want to say is we need to make sure we definitely get Mathew Harter off of that bench, okay? There's a few other public officials, that were corrupt, and we're definitely looking into them. Let's get Mathew Harter off that bench. Let's expose his bankruptcy fraud. Let's expose him ruining children's lives, ruining families' lives like he ruined my child's life, okay? And let's make sure we create a real citizens review board where nobody can manipulate, nobody can edit, and let's get on with it. Let's make it happen. That's what I say. That's what I want to say. And anybody that's against that, let's go ahead and expose them too. Anything else?
Jonas, you got anything?
Oh, I'm good.
Mr. Amado, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me.
Folks, that's Giano Amado, who was discussing to get a real public citizens review board and to oust out corrupt elected officials. This is Steve Sanson, Stephen Jonas with Veterans in Politics. Until next time.